I have the smallest of shops. I went to Aldi and grabbed 4 things. It's my midweek top-up shop, so obviously only went out because of milk. So A2 Light, 2 litres, $6.89. Fruit, strawberries are on special, $2.49 for a punnet. I've still got some pears in my fruit bowl, and I'm skipping the bananas because they're currently $4.49 a kilo. So yeah, it's a bit too much for, well, what I think bananas are. So I've got other fruit. So yogurt, a 4-pack of mango yogurt. This one was $3.99. And finally, a pork belly. This was on special, so for $14.99 a kilo. This is 810 grams for $12.14. So I think I'm going to do a crispy pork belly in my air fryer. This will take an overnight prep. But all in all, I spent just over $25. I'll put my total up on screen. Okay, so I've got my pork belly here, just under a kilo, so 800 grams. And I'm going to prepare this for crispy pork in the air fryer. But this does take like an overnight preparation. So the plan is, you basically have to pat it dry with a paper towel, and then I've got a meat tenderizer thing with lots of different spikes in it. Sometimes I just use metal skewers, but I've got this available to me. And you stab as many holes in it as you can. Then you put salt all over it just to draw out the moisture, and then back in the fridge. So I'll speed you through the process. Okay, using this is actually kind of physically exhausting, and if you don't have one of these meat tenderizers and you have skewers at home, you can just stab through this. This is what I used to do. Obviously it would take ages, but I can't get the edges, so more stabbing for me. Okay, good enough. There are hundreds of holes in this thing, and I'm going to put salt in it, pat it dry again with a paper towel, and throw it back into the fridge. Okay, so as you can see, hopefully, there's a lot of moisture on the top of my pork. I've stabbed the bejesus out of it, and I will again, but with the salt on it and back into the fridge, it's drawn out a lot of moisture. So I'm going to pat it dry with a paper towel. Okay, so you can see that I've got hundreds and hundreds of holes into the top of the pork. Now, the pork did come already scored. That's how it came out of the pack. But yeah, usually I do this overnight in the fridge, but you know, I didn't do it last night, so I'm just gonna cook it up. Ideally, you have hundreds, if not 1,000 holes in it, and you'll get a nice crispy pork crackling. Now, I'm going to make it Asian style tonight. So I'm going to flip it over. I have 1/4 teaspoon of Chinese 5-spice, 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I usually do that for a kilo. This is 800 grams, but you know, whatever, same. Then I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to then mix my mixture of spices into the back of the pork. I'm going to score it first. And I'm also going to put about 1 teaspoon of Chinese Shaoxing wine over the meat so that this can have something to stick to. I don't remember if I told you what I've decided to do for dinner. I'm going to do Chinese crispy skin pork. You know, the ones that you see hanging from the Chinese takeaways, yeah, like where they've got whole roast goose and, you know, chicken and meat and whatever, lots of those things. Anyway, crispy pork belly is pretty easy to do in the air fryer. I actually worked out how to do this and replicate this at home during lockdown when we couldn't go out. So you have to make a foil boat to house your meat. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I've got my meat in my double foil boat. The reason to do this is because when you cook it, all of the meat juices will escape, and you kind of want to make sure the meat is moist while the top is really, really dry and crackly. To do this, you put a teeny bit of white vinegar over the top. So you stab the bejesus out of it. You salt it, you pat it dry, and then you put white vinegar on it, and then you salt it again, and then you throw it into the air fryer at max, which is about 200 degrees Celsius. And you do it for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then you check depending on the thickness of your meat. Obviously got this part that's thicker, so I did score the meat and I did trim off some of the fat. Pork belly is a very fatty cut in the first place, so I just, for health reasons, yeah, the sliver of fat came off. So I'm going to pat it again and then put my vinegar on. So I've got my meat here. I put 1 teaspoon of vinegar all over it, moved it around, then patted off the excess and immediately put salt on it. Put more salt on it than you think you're gonna need. You could always brush it off. So I'm gonna throw this moated pork into the air fryer at full whack. I'm gonna check on it after 20 minutes. Okay, so I finished cooking dinner. I made the braised mushrooms, which I have done before on this channel. So I did soak my mushrooms in the afternoon and just boiled it in its own mushroom juice and made a sauce, oyster sauce, soy sauce, dark soy sauce, a little bit of Chinese rice wine. And I did some eggs with green onions with spring onions and a bit of dashi. And same thing, green beans, carrots, dashi, and garlic. So to the main event. I did put this in at 200 degrees in the moat from raw in the air fryer for 20 minutes. And then I cut it in half so that it would cook faster. Then I put it in again for another 15 and left it until all my other bits were done. I did also cook rice to the side. I have been a very busy bee. So it's very crispy, as you can hear. All the juices and oils are leaking. It's okay. Okay, so dinner was a bit of a faff, but very worth it. I don't cook this very often because pork belly is not good for you, but it's oh so delicious. It's very, very, very crispy, the skin, and the meat is quite soft and tender and juicy because I let it cook in its own moat of juices. So, I've got rice, I've got my braised mushrooms, I've just got simple eggs and my veg. So let me plate up. Okay guys, this is a very, very, very generous portion for dinner. I'm really hungry. I might have regrets about this later on, but yeah, my crispy pork belly is really, really, really quite an easy thing to do at home. It's much easier than you think. And yeah, if you have an air fryer, give this a go. So as always, I will put all of my costings up on screen.